Alright guys, today's project I'm going to be changing the main fuel pump and filter on my 94 940 turbo. This is going to apply to all 740s and then 940s up through 94. The 95 just has the single in-tank fuel pump, but the 94s and back have a helper pump in the tank, and then the main one is right about here underneath the chassis. So that's what we're going to be changing today. As far as parts go, this is what you're going to need. I went on the cheap side. This is your fuel pump here. There's the part number it has. Take a look at that. There's the pump itself and the little boot and fittings that they give you. This is the fuel filter. This just came out of my parts pile, so it's a little dirty, but it's brand new. And then this, you probably can get away with not using, but it will make your life a whole lot easier. This is the little hose that goes between the pump and filter. And there's your part number for that one. All right, as far as the tools go that you're gonna need, obviously a few ratchets. That's all basic stuff, 17 millimeter. That's a 13 millimeter, some 10s, 19, 10 millimeter wrenches, 17, 19, 22. I used a 28 to hold the fuel filter steady. This is a T25 Torx bit. And then if you have to rewire your fuel pump like I do, then you're gonna need some of these type of tools here. But overall, all pretty basic stuff, and that should cover the whole job. All right, so that's the back of the car there. I've got it jacked up on jack stands in the rear with a preference on the driver's side, and I also have a little bit in the front jacked up as well. This is what you're greeted with as far as your fuel pump goes. Again, this is the rear of the car. You can see the hoses come from both sides towards the front, and then from the fuel tank on the other side. And then on this side you have your power wiring and that little connector hose that I was telling you about. So the idea is that we're going to take this whole tray down and then replace everything outside of the car and then refit the tray back in here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is disconnect these power wires here. You got to be extra careful not to damage the wires, but they have a little clasp on here that you have to bend and then just gently pull it out like so. And then the same thing on the other one. And it looks like we got that one loose. So there's a little better angle on what I'm talking about. So you have to bend both of these open, the little clamps, and then pull it out. Once you got both of those free, you are clear on the side towards the front of the car. So we have to come back to this side, pull this off, and this little screw right there. I'm thinking not all model years are going to have this, but right before the fuel pump you do have this pressure relief valve you can try. Take off and depress the little valve here and release any pressure that you may have built up. This car I haven't driven in quite a while. Alright, so we release the pressure. So I'm not expecting a huge mess, but we are going to have some mess when I release these hoses. So you're going to want to have something just to catch any fuel that you do leak, just to try and keep the mess to a minimum. Alright, so we're going to start with our T25 Torx bit to get that little screw right there. Try and release the clamp on that hose. Alright, so this is the very hardest part of the job. The easiest way that I've found to do it is going to be to hook a 22 millimeter wrench onto the fuel filter nut side, which is going to give you some counter leverage against your 17 on the banjo bolt here. And so you're going to want to pull this one towards the outside of the car and then move this one to loosen it here, and then that should allow you to get enough torque to actually turn this bolt if it's stuck on really hard like mine is. Alright, we are starting to get some fuel leaking out as expected. Probably pull this wrench out. Alright, we're just gonna let that leak, let it all come out. Alright, once all the fuel leaks out, I'm gonna zip these 3 nuts off of the tray itself. There's 2 on the inside, 1 right here on the outside. We're going to put our 13 on there and zip those off, and that'll allow us to better take this last hose off, and then we'll be able to change everything out outside from underneath the car, which will be a lot easier on us. As you can see, the whole tray is loose now. It's going to leak some more fuel, and we are just going to try and finagle this hose off this last part of the fuel pump, and then we should be pretty much home free. Try and catch most of that. Dump out the extra. And then we're going to get out from underneath the car and change out the pump and filter on the actual tray. So let's get out from under here and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here's what we're working with. The fuel filter held on by this little clamp. Looks like a 10mm. We'll have to pull that off to get the filter out. And then maybe another 10mm holding the fuel pump on with the same type of like rubber clamp. Got it kind of laid out in the general idea. Looks like we're going to have to reuse the banjo bolt to hook this hose on, and then they actually give us new power wiring, so we'll replace that as well since those connectors were super old anyways. This hose actually doesn't look too bad, so it's probably not original to the car, but again, for the $18 that thing cost, it's a no-brainer to just replace this, especially if it's original. So I'm going to get to work on switching these out, and then I will show you what it looks like when we're done. Alright, so now I've just got to tighten everything down, make sure it's all fitted just right so that everything is comfortable. And then it's just going to be a matter of making these power wires, putting them back in the right place, and then we'll mount it back underneath the car. We're on the home stretch though. Okay, so you're going to want to kind of ease the tray into place and kind of start putting wires back where they go, tightening your hoses up as you go, and get everything in just the general vicinity of where you need it, and then that'll let you loosely tighten these up so that you can hang it while you fasten everything and rewire the power wire if you have to, like I did. Once you got those 2 started, now we can focus on tightening the hoses up, getting it all the way on and clamped again, and then going to the other side and dealing with the wiring. Alright, so everything should be buttoned up. Got my little fuel pressure cap back on, relief valve cap back on. Got the tray tightened down on all 3 bolts. The wiring is done, it's tucked back in there. I think I might wrap that up in some electrical tape or some heat shrink or something once I know it's leak free. But that's the next thing we got to do, is just cycle the key on, make sure we don't have any leaks at these junctions right here. And if you are good to go with no leaks, that is a job well done. Alright, so we're about to cycle the key a couple times and crank the car up, and as long as there's no leaks, you should be good to go. Fuel pump's running, that's good. Couple more times. Alright, everything is dry. I think we're good. No, that's good, thank you.